Oke, hi everyone. Oke, nice to see you ya semuanya. Terima kasih udah hadir pada pagi hari ini. Senang banget. Clear. Nice. Oke, teman-teman. Jangan lupa ya, kalau ada pertanyaan bisa langsung diketik aja di chat box. Nanti kalau memang belum dibahas pertanyaan itu sampai akhir acara, akan kita bahas di akhir acara. Oke? Oke, Mr. Darren.
Okay, good morning, everybody. Thank you for coming. Just before we start, let me say for the reading, it's a long section and I'd like to get through a lot of different things today. So I am going to go quite fast, okay? You can always rewatch this on YouTube, I believe. Can you?
Yes,
Is that
you
right,
can.
Vicky? Yeah. So you can rewatch bits and at some points I will give you a few moments just to, I don't know, screenshot things for the reading so that you have the text, okay? If something's not clear and you want to go over it again, please mention it in the chat box and hopefully we'll have time at the end for me to go back over something, okay?
Oke.
And
Nah,
I mean
tadi
everyone.
Mr. Darren juga udah sampaikan bahwa karena ini reading section, jadi akan ada sesinya akan cukup lama nih teman-teman. Karena kita pasti butuh proses untuk membaca. Jadi teman-teman bisa coba untuk screenshot yang ada di layar, atau kalau seandainya mau minta diulangi lagi, langsung aja ketik di chat box, nanti akan dibantu Mr. Darren untuk mengulang slide-nya. Jadi mungkin mulai sekarang bisa dibantu untuk mengumpulkan fokusnya nih, siap-siap untuk menyerap ilmu-ilmu yang akan disampaikan sama Mr. Darren nanti. Nah, Vicky mau ingetin juga satu hal, di akhir acara teman-teman bisa klaim sertifikat dari IF sebagai partisipan Practice Your TOEFL Reading Section yang bisa teman-teman masukkan di CV, LinkedIn, dan lain-lain. Jadi pastikan untuk teman-teman stay sampai akhir acara ya. Let's go, Mr. Darren. We can go to the next section.
Okay. Just let me share my screen. Okay. The first thing I think I need to do is just show you where the reading comes in the TOEFL test. The reading is always the third paper. All right. So first you do the listening, then you do structure, and then you have reading. So it's the last one, and it's the longest. It's almost an hour. Okay. So it is important to kind of stay fresh and keep the spirit up. Don't just look at all these reading texts and go, because they are quite long and they can be quite intimidating. But hopefully today I'll show you some ways that you can make them slightly less intimidating.
Oke teman-teman, jadi seperti yang udah diinfokan sama Mr. Darren, selalu akan ada 3 section ketika kalian mengerjakan tes TOEFL. Yang pertama listening, kedua structure, dan yang terakhir adalah reading. Yang mana reading ini juga waktunya cukup lama nih, hampir 1 jam. Jadi pastikan kalian tetap fresh, tetap fokus ketika udah sampai di section reading. Jangan kayak langsung, aduh tulisannya banyak. Nanti akan mengganggu fokus kalian ketika mengerjakan. Let's go.
Okay.
Next.
Let me just show you some general reading tips, things that you can do to help with your reading section. The most important thing is to read more. And I've written that down over and over again because it really is important. Just because I'm giving you some tips and maybe some tricks here, it doesn't mean that you can just go into the test and get a great score if you never read English. So read as much as you can in the months leading up to your test. The next one is to build your vocabulary, especially academic English, because most of these texts will be the kind of things that you will read when you're at university. So you need to get used to reading that sort of thing so that you're used to the language that they use. Do you want to translate that now, Vicky, or
Okay, later.
at the end? Later? Okay, great. Again, read more. Please read more. Keep reading. One important thing to look at is what we call discourse markers, which are words that link bits of the passage together. Okay. Some people call them signposts because they show you where you're going in the reading. And I'd just like to give you an example of what I mean here.
Okay.
Words like this, furthermore, moreover, in fact, etc. They all have these functions. So if you see the word furthermore, you know the next thing that you're going to read is something which adds or emphasizes what you've just read. On the other hand, if you see something like however, in contrast, or on the other hand, you're going to read something which contrasts what you've just read. And getting used to these signposts, these phrases, and understanding what they mean can really help you follow the reading when you're reading through it. And they can also help you with a certain type of question, which we'll look at later. So there's some examples here. Feel free to screenshot. And there are a lot of other examples as well, which you can kind of Google. Okay. Now, let me go back. Again, don't forget to read more. And it's important because these passages are so long, some of them are so long, it's important to break the text down into paragraphs, basically, and understand what each paragraph is about. So you need to, what I call, nutshell each paragraph. Don't worry, nutshell just means to summarize as briefly as you can. The shortest way of saying what this paragraph is about. Okay, and the last thing I will say in this part is read more.
Okay. So how small is you say by nutshelling?
For nutshelling, as short as you can, a sentence, and we're going to look at it now. Okay, I'll show you some examples. Yeah, after this, I'll show you what I've done, and if you want to, if you've got pencil and paper, you can have a little practice at home. Bearing in mind, though, for the reading section in the ITP, you shouldn't be taking notes, okay? So this is just an exercise for today. What you should be doing during the actual test is summarizing it in your head, just keeping an idea, a very brief idea of what each paragraph is about.
Okay, so sebelumnya Vicky kasih translation dulu ya sedikit soal ini. Ini adalah general tips reading dari Mr. Darren. Yang pertama adalah tentu saja meningkatkan vocabulary-nya teman-teman. Karena percuma mau dibaca beberapa kali pun, teman-teman udah tahu tips and trick sebanyak apapun, tapi nggak ngerti artinya, ya agak susah ya. Makanya Mr. Darren selalu menekankan bahwa read more, karena ketika teman-teman membaca berbagai macam jenis bacaan, maka akan punya banyak kosakata juga nih yang bisa dipakai nantinya ketika melakukan TOEFL test, especially academic English. Nah, karena pastinya bacaan-bacaan yang dimasukin ke dalam TOEFL nih, pasti kayak jurnal, kayak news, hal-hal kayak gitu nih. Nanti bisa kita lihat setelah ini seperti apa sih bacaan-bacaan yang biasanya ada di TOEFL. Nah, ya memang harus menyesuaikan dengan bacaan-bacaan yang ada itu, dan teman-teman juga memperbanyak ilmu-ilmu dan kosakata yang seputar bacaan-bacaan tersebut. Nah, kemudian study discourse markers. Kenapa sih ini penting? Jadi kata hubung ini seperti tadi kayak untuk menjelaskan kontras, tapi, kemudian, karena, hal-hal seperti itu juga fungsinya adalah untuk membuat kalian lebih paham bacaan ini tuh sebenarnya tentang apa sih? Maksudnya kayak awalnya ngomongin A tapi terakhir ngomongin B, discourse markernya itu apa? Tapi kah, atau lebih lanjut kah, atau seperti apa? Nah, itu akan membuat kalian lebih paham bacaan ini itu seperti apa dan menjawab soalnya lebih sesuai dengan yang jawaban yang benar. Kemudian tadi balik lagi nih di slide sebelumnya, ada setelah discourse marker, tips yang ketiga adalah break the text down. Jadi, nutshell each paragraph. Break the text down, pastikan bacaannya panjang banget nih, banyak paragraf-paragraf. Nah, kalian harus bikin paragraf-paragraf itu menjadi satu kalimat aja tadi kata Mr. Darren. Jadi kayak, paragraf A itu isinya tentang apa. Jadi nutshell kan memang kayak ini tuh dalam kalimat yang lebih kecil atau hal yang lebih singkat. Singkatnya itu intinya, poinnya itu tentang apa. Nah, itu tadi. Makanya in a nutshell, make a nutshell from each paragraph. Dan yang paling penting, read more. Nah, teman-teman, Vicky juga mau ngingetin, di TOEFL test reading, kalian tidak bisa take notes. Jadi, tidak boleh mencoret-coret, baik itu di kertas jawaban maupun di kertas soal. Kalau di kertas jawaban, hanya menjawab aja ya. Jadi, jawaban kalian yang ada di situ. Tapi kalian nggak bisa take notes kira-kira paragraf 1 itu tentang apa, paragraf 2 itu tentang apa. Jadi fungsinya kita hari ini adalah membiasakan untuk teman-teman membaca paragraf-paragraf itu dan langsung menanamkan di kepala nih tentang apa sih hal itu dan gimana caranya supaya proses itu lebih cepat. Nanti akan dibantu jelaskan sama Mr. Darren. Oke, we can go to the next slide yang akan kita membahas cara breakdown teks menjadi nutshell from each paragraph.
Okay. Before we look at nutshelling, a thing that comes up a lot with reading is whether to read through the text first before you read the questions, or to read the questions and then look at the text. Okay. As you've seen, the reading is quite a long test, and it's the last one, and you can be quite tired. And with the reading more than any other part of the test, time is important. It's easy to run out of time. So most students that I've taught prefer to read the questions first. However, that means that you don't really know what it's about when you're reading the questions. So the answer to this question really is neither. Okay, what you should be doing is skimming the text first and then reading the questions. And this skimming will allow you to nutshell each paragraph. The way we skim is really quite simple. If you look at this text, now this is one I took from the IBT. This is not the ITP test, this is IBT, and I took it just because it is so long, okay? It's really intimidating when you see a text like this. And you should not read all the way through this text before you start looking at the questions. However, what you should do, and this is where you can use a piece of paper and a pencil, is to read the first sentence of each paragraph and just get an idea in your mind of what this paragraph is about. So let's look at the first paragraph. Excuse me, just let me move you out. Oh, let me move you out the way, Vicky. There we go. The first sentence is simple. The city of Teotihuacan, that's not simple, which lay about 50 kilometers northeast of modern-day Mexico City, began its growth by 200 to 100 BC. Now, if I want to nutshell that, the important ideas are it's about this city called Teotihuacan, however you say that, which is near Mexico, and it seems to be about its growth. So in my mind, I'm just thinking this. Teotihuacan City, Mexico, growth. Okay. Now I'm going to show you, maybe not all, but some of the next paragraphs. And I'd like you to just get an idea in your mind of what it's about. And you're not allowed to use more than, say, 5 words. Okay. I've done this in 1, 2, 3, 4 words. So you can have a maximum of 5 words. If you want to write them down, that's fine. Here's the second paragraph.
Bisa coba ngerjainin seperti tadi Mr. Darren contohkan ya. Jadi menyingkat kalimat pertama dari paragraf ini menjadi nggak lebih dari 5 kata aja. Mau coba? Oke, coba yang paragraf kedua nih. Tentang apa sih?
Okay. I'm going to go with how did this tremendous development take place? Why did it happen in the Teotihuacan Valley? Wow, you could do that in maybe 3 words, 3 or 4, but you can have 5. Okay, next paragraph. Now this one's a bit strange because it says this last factor is at least circumstantially implicated in Teotihuacan's rise. But we don't know what the last factor is. So when you're skimming and I'm telling you to read the first sentence of each paragraph, please don't just read the first sentence of the paragraph and then read the first sentence of the next paragraph and then the next paragraph and just read them without actually digesting what they mean and getting an idea in your head. When you're skimming through and you read a sentence like that, where it says this last factor, you need to go back to the second paragraph. And then you can see here, if you read the end of it, it says, finally, the impact of natural disasters, such as the volcanic eruptions of the late first millennium. So, when it says this last factor, that's what it's talking about, natural disasters. Okay, you can write your ideas down again, and I will go to the next paragraph. Whoa, this is a really long one, look. Hold on, let me move this window out of the way. It seems likely that Teotihuacan's natural resources, along with the city elite's ability to recognize their potential, gave the city a competitive edge over its neighbors. Wow, that's long. However, I still want you to do it in maximum 5 words. Okay, 2 paragraphs left, keep going. Number 5, long-distance trade in obsidian probably gave the elite residents of Teotihuacans access to a wide variety of exotic goods, as well as a relatively prosperous life. Remember, only 5 words. And finally, oh, it's another long one. Look, the picture of Teotihuacan that emerges is a classic picture of positive feedback among obsidian mining and working, trade, population growth, irrigation, and religious tourism. Now, they mention a lot of things there, but still 5 words. Okay. Now, I don't know how many of you have been writing things down out there, but I'm going to show you what I would have had in my mind from each of these paragraphs. We did the first one anyway, the city, Mexico, growth. The second paragraph, all I had is how it developed, how the city developed, okay? And why there? Why did it develop like that? Number 3, remember, was the impact of natural disasters. That's all you need. Number 4 is telling you that their natural resources gave them a competitive edge. Number 5 tells you that obsidian trade gave the people living there a prosperous life. And positive feedback came from many different factors.
Okay. Can I explain it a little bit ya?
Absolutely, go for it. Good luck.
Oke, teman-teman. Tadi udah dikasih contoh nih sama Mr. Darren. Kalau seandainya ada bacaan sepanjang itu, tipsnya gimana supaya kita tuh bisa paham sama bacaan ini. Tapi padahal dia panjang banget kan, kita juga butuh waktu yang singkat. Nah, tips dari Mr. Darren tadi adalah pertama ada pertanyaan nih. Kalau kita ngerjain reading, itu baca soalnya dulu atau baca bacaannya dulu ya, untuk bisa lebih paham ngerjainnya cepat. Nah, jawaban dari Mr. Darren adalah bukan dua-duanya, bukan yang mana dulu, tapi secara bersamaan. Jadi yang pertama, skimming dulu teksnya. Cara skimming teksnya tuh gimana sih? Skimming teks itu apa sih, Miss Vicky? Nah, skimming teks itu adalah membaca singkat. Jadi kalian cuma membaca, oh ini kira-kira tentang apa, kemudian kalian masukkan ke otak. Yang paragraf kedua kira-kira tentang apa, kalian pahami juga masukkan ke otak. Nah, itu maksudnya skimming, jadi nggak perlu dibaca satu persatu, detailsnya nanti aja. Yang penting paham dulu ini kira-kira tentang apa. Nah, gimana caranya tahu kira-kira tentang apa? Yaitu dengan membaca paragraf pertama aja, kalimat pertama aja dari paragraf itu yang tadi udah dimerah-merahin tuh sama Mr. Darren. Jadi kalimat pertamanya teman-teman baca, kemudian kira-kira kalian membuat kesimpulan nih di otak kalian, kira-kira itu tuh tentang apa. Kalimatnya nggak harus persis seperti yang Mr. Darren contohkan, cuman Mr. Darren menyarankan sekitar 5 kalimat aja. Jadi contoh tadi yang awal, kalian udah lihat bacaannya, udah ada yang kalimat pertama yang warna merah itu, dan itu tentang Teotihuacan City, Meksiko, tentang growth-nya. Udah gitu aja. Oh, ini paragraf pertama tentang ini, paragraf kedua tentang how it developed, dia berkembangnya seperti apa. Oke, paham. Paragraf ketiga seperti apa. Nah, ketika teman-teman udah selesai melakukan proses berpikir ini, udah nge-skimming nih bacaannya seperti apa, baru kita baca soal-soalnya seperti apa supaya mengerjakannya itu lebih efektif. Kayak gitu ya tadi maksudnya. Untuk teman-teman yang belum paham, nanti jangan, tenang aja, masih bisa diulang lagi di YouTube channel kita. Jadi kalau teman-teman sekarang ngerasa kayak, kok aku kayaknya masih belum paham ya, aduh jangan lanjut dulu. No worries, nanti pasti akan bisa teman-teman replay lagi. Dan juga nanti di terakhir akan kita kasih sekaligus sertifikatnya, itu adalah link menuju website-website yang bisa teman-teman gunakan untuk mencoba kemampuan reading section kalian. Jadi kalian bisa coba lagi, kira-kira reading skillsku udah meningkat belum ya, atau atau belum nih, jadi apalagi yang harus aku pelajari, bisa banget di situ. Jadi jangan kemana-mana dulu, kita lanjut supaya jangan lupa dapat sertifikat dan juga linknya. Nah, udah paham ya untuk caranya skimming. Next, we are going to go to the next materials, Mr. Darren.
Yes, just before we do, just because there have been some comments in the chat box, excuse me, about how do you know which words are the important words, and the nutshelling is quite difficult. Remember, during the test, you're not going to be writing down notes. It's not here that I'm choosing the most important words from the sentence. I'm trying to express the idea of that sentence as briefly and as simply as possible. Okay, you might even use different words. You might have words that aren't in that sentence. You're expressing the idea, not just looking for the key words here. Okay. Now we're going to do the same with another passage. You'll see again, it's not as long as the other one, but it's still quite long. So let's try the same thing. We're going to look at the first sentence of each paragraph and try and summarize in our mind, what is this paragraph about? Now, I'll do the first one for you. Amber is not a mineral, but is used as and called a semi-precious stone. Okay, what's this paragraph telling us? Vicky, any idea?
About amber. What is amber?
It's about amber, right? Exactly. What is amber? And that's exactly what I'm thinking when I look at this paragraph. Okay. What is amber? This paragraph will tell us about that. Now have a look at the others. Hundreds of deposits of amber occur around the world, most of them in trace quantities. Now, anybody who wants to type in the chat box, feel free. What's this paragraph about?
Kedua apa ya?
Amber stone, absolutely. Where can amber be found? Oh, I like that one. Let's take a look. Exactly. Well done. Well done, Rani. You're absolutely right. That's what this paragraph is going to be about. Okay. Where do you find amber? And then we have the third one, which seems quite similar, but it is a little different. Amber is almost always preserved in a sediment that collected at the bottom of an ancient lagoon or river delta at the edge of an ocean or sea. Now, what do you think that paragraph's about? Again, we've got location of amber, and to a degree, you're right. You are right. Where is amber mostly found? Yeah, because you've got this bit at the beginning. It's almost always at the bottom of an ancient lagoon. It's kind of telling you where, but it's also telling you how is amber formed. Okay, but there is an element of where as well. So well done. Okay, and that's what you should do before you come to the questions. Read the first sentence of each paragraph, get an idea in your head of what the paragraph is about, and then you're ready to look at the questions. Okay?
Okay.
This is if anybody wants to screenshot so that they have the text with them. So this is the first paragraph. If you want to screenshot it, I'll give you 10 seconds right now. Go. Okay, I will do the same with the second and third paragraph. And then if you want to refer to it with the questions, you can. However, you shouldn't have to. I will still put as much of the text that I think is necessary onto the screen for you. Anyway, here's the second paragraph. And here's the third. Like I say, if you are slow with your screenshots, or you're a bit worried because you didn't get it, don't worry too much, because I will try and put as much of the text on as possible for the questions. Okay. Sorry, we've got one question. You hadn't done two? Honestly, don't worry about it too much, but I'll go back in a moment so you get one quick chance, okay? 3, 2, 1. Oh, hold on. There we go. There's the second paragraph again. You got 5 seconds. All right, if everyone's confused, don't worry about screenshotting. I'll put the text that you need on anyway. It was just so that you have the text there. All right, the next thing I want to do is look at some different types of questions that you'll find. Okay, the first two are quite similar. The first one is factual details, and the other one is negative factual details. And this is where they ask you to find a particular detail in the text. Okay, it's the most common type of question. Sorry, let me check. Everyone's confused. All right.
Karena nanti di setiap soalnya ketika kita ngebahas, Mr. Darren akan tetap ngasih paragrafnya di atas supaya teman-teman bisa baca. Jadi setelah ini kita akan ngelihat nih jenis-jenis soal yang biasanya muncul di ITP Reading Questions. Itu biasanya adalah tentang 6 hal yang ada di layar. Jadi ngomongin tentang factual details, tentang detail-detailnya yang ada di dalam bacaan itu seperti apa dan cara jawabnya seperti apa, atau yang negative one, atau tentang vocabulary, yang tentu aja teman-teman harus belajar juga, tentang mencari reference, dan tentang mencari purpose, apa sih tujuannya tuh orang yang menulis ini, dan yang terakhir adalah mencari main idea. Dan bacaannya adalah yang tadi udah kita bahas nih, tentang Tihuacan City in Mexico, and also yang terakhir adalah tentang batu ember. Nanti juga akan ada kok bacaannya di terakhir. Jadi kalau seandainya tadi udah screenshot, nggak apa-apa disimpan aja. Kalau belum, it's okay juga, karena nanti juga nggak akan begitu dibutuhkan. Cuman teman-teman bisa jadikan itu sebagai latihan. Dan itu bisa diulang lagi di YouTube-nya IF Talks, ada di IF Surabaya. Oke, sekarang kita balik lagi ya, fokus untuk coba ngerjain soal-soal reading. Let's go, Mr. Darren.
Okay. For both of these, the factual details and negative ones, the most important thing is the same. You're going to need to look at something in the question and scan the text to find it. Now, because we've done that skimming, we've done the nutshelling each paragraph, you should have a good idea where to look for the answer, okay? Because you know what each paragraph is about. Let's have a look at an example of one of these factual questions. Remember, look for keywords in the question and scan the text to find the answer. Now, this is from that Teotihuacan one, okay? And the great thing about this one is the question actually has a quoted part of the text. So we want to know which of the following allowed Teotihuacan to have a competitive edge over its neighbors. So the important thing to do is scan for that. When I say scan, you're looking very quickly through the text and trying to find where this is. And you'll find it here, a competitive edge over its neighbors. So if you read this, something gave the city a competitive edge over its neighbors, that tells you that the answer comes just before it. So then you look for a paraphrase of one of these. Teotihuacan's natural resources, along with the city elite's ability to recognize their potential, that's your answer. Okay, so you've got resources, and the people there were able to use it really well. Well, which of these? It's A, well-exploited and readily available commodity. If something is a natural resource, that's a readily available commodity. And if the people there can recognize its potential, then they exploit it. That's your answer. Okay? So you scan, you look for where the answer is, and then you just find it. I know I'm making it sound simple, but honestly it is.
Oke, jadi ini adalah salah satu soal yang cukup simpel ya. Jadi cuman teman-teman akan disuruh nyari kalimat yang udah di quote sama soalnya. Contohnya di sini a competitive edge over its neighbors. Nah, tinggal cari itu di bacaan, di mana sih lokasinya tulisan itu? Ketemu, ternyata ada di kalimat pertama. Gave the city a competitive edge over its neighbors, gitu kan. Nah, berarti kalau kita mau tahu apa sih maksudnya a competitive edge over its neighbors, biasanya itu akan ada di kalimat sebelum-sebelumnya. Contoh, kalau di kasus ini berarti kalimat itu adalah it seems like Teotihuacan's natural resources along with the city's elite ability to recognize their potential. Nah, itulah yang dimaksud. Berarti kita tinggal cari sinonimnya aja nih dari kalimat city elites ability to recognize their potential. Nah, tadi Mr. Darren udah jelasin juga bahwa jawabannya adalah a well exploited and readily available commodity. Jadi kalau seandainya teman-teman kayak nyari yang sama persis, biasanya nggak ketemu. Jadi memang harus cari yang sinonim-sinonimnya nih. Contohnya a well exploited itu artinya adalah city elite ability. Itu hampir sama kan artinya. Dan readily available commodity itu their potential natural resources. Oke, sampai sini kurang lebih paham kan ya? Jadi kayak cari dulu tulisannya ada di mana, lihat kalimat sebelumnya, dan cari sinonimnya. Oke?
Alright, so let's have a look at one of those from the Amber text.
Oke, coba yang kedua.
Now here's a detail, sorry.
Okay.
Here's one from the Amber one. Which of the following is true about deposits of amber? Now, it's difficult to find something here that you can kind of use to look for it in the text. So have a look at the answers first. There's a limited number of large deposits of amber in the world. Most deposits contain large quantities of amber specimens. The major amber deposits were formed at approximately the same time, and the deposits were formed primarily by tropical broadleaf trees. Now, honestly, you should know that you don't need to look very much at the first paragraph, because this is all about where the deposits are or how they were formed. So you really just need to look at the second paragraph and then maybe the third. And don't worry if you didn't screenshot, because here you go. What you need to look for is deposits, because that's in all of your answers. Find the word deposits and then read around it and see which of these answers you think is true. I will give you 30 seconds.
Coba teman-teman dicoba jawab ya untuk soal kedua ini. Kalau tahu jawabannya, coba ketik di chat box jawabannya A, B, C, atau D. Pengen tahu, dicoba aja, nggak apa-apa salah, nanti akan kita bahas kan. Siapa tahu betul.
Oh, we got a few A's, lots of B's, and then a D. I'm back to A. Okay, we've got a lot of different answers. 3, 2, 1, bing. Okay, I think that was almost 50-50 between A and B. So let's have a look at A and B. There is a limited number of large deposits of amber in the world. B, most deposits contain large quantities of amber specimens. All right. Now, if we look through this text, when we find deposits, we've got just before it, only occasionally has amber survived in quantities large enough to be mined. Now, if amber is found all over the world, hundreds of deposits, so lots of deposits, but only occasionally has amber survived in quantities large enough to be mined, then that means most deposits don't contain large quantities of amber specimens. Most of them contain tiny little bits, what we call trace quantities. Okay. The correct answer is A. Okay, only about 20 such rich deposits of amber exist in the world. Large deposits are rich deposits. And if there's only about 20 in the world, well, that's a very limited number. Okay. Don't be sad if you got it wrong. It's only practice, this one. All right, should we move to the next one? Do you want to translate, Vicky? Or?
No.
No? Okay, good. Just let me go back. I do quickly want to do the negative factual details because it's going to give you another example of useful things when you're scanning for the answer. Okay. Now, the difference with these questions is with the fact details, there are 3 wrong answers and there's 1 correct answer. Now, the negative ones are exactly the same. It's just that this time there are 3 correct answers and 1 wrong answer, and you're trying to find the wrong answer. And it's easy to see these questions because they will have a word like not or except. in the question and it will be capitalized. Let me show you. If you read this question, it's quite a long question, but it goes blah, 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 except. So each of the following things is true, except one. You need to find the one that's not true. Okay. Now, again, we're looking for keywords in the question and then scanning. But the great thing about this question is it has a date. Dates are fantastic for when you're scanning because they're really easy to see in the text. They stand out, okay, because they're numbers in the middle of all these words. So here, it's very easy to find AD 150 and 700. There it is. So we know that this is where to look for your answer, okay? Now, I'm going to go as quick as I can, so bear with me. It's talking about the city here, and it says it had over 2,000 apartment complexes, a great market, a large number of industrial workshops, an administrative center, a number of massive religious edifices, and a regular grid pattern of streets and buildings. Wow, all those things. Now, 3 of these things are mentioned, 1 of them is not. Let's have a look. Regularly arranged streets. Okay, regular grid patterns of streets and buildings. Yes, ding.
That's correct.
Several administrative centers spread across the city. It says here an administrative center.
Only one.
Only one? Many. We're thinking that's wrong, but with these negative ones, it's best to check and make sure that the other 2 answers are here. So many manufacturing workshops, large number is many. Industrial workshops are manufacturing workshops, so yes, ding.
Yes.
And apartment complexes, yes, it's the first thing that's mentioned.
Apartment.
So we know the answer is B.
Apartment complexes.
Okay.
Okay. Can I explain it a little bit?
Yes, you can. Absolutely.
Oke, teman-teman. Jadi tadi 2 bentuk pertama memahami soal-soal yang ada di reading section itu adalah yang pertama factual detail dan negative factual detail. Maksudnya adalah kalian mencari detail-detail apa yang ada di dalam bacaan. Biasanya soal-soalnya akan berhubungan sama maksud dari kalimat A itu apa, kayak yang tadi pertama. Kemudian yang kedua juga udah nemu kira-kira mana yang benar dari jawaban-jawaban ini atau tentang bacaan ini. Jadi kalian akan mencari dari 4 jawaban ABCD, 1 benar, 3 salah. Nah, ada juga negative factual detail seperti yang baru aja dijelasin sama Mr. Darren. Yang 3 benar ya, 3 benar, yang 1 salah, dan kalian teman-teman harus dicari yang 1 yang salah itu tadi. Biasanya ada tulisan except atau selain itu yang mana yang benar. Kayak gitu, jadi cara carinya juga seperti yang barusan dijelasin, kalian skimming dulu, terutama ini ada tanggalnya kan, jadi bisa langsung cari nih di mana tanggalnya itu tadi. Atau kata kunci yang ada di soalnya itu langsung di skimming balik ke bacaannya untuk cari kira-kira jawabannya itu bisa kalian temuin di mana. Nah, teman-teman juga jangan lupa untuk mencari sinonim-sinonim ya, karena biasanya nggak akan secara terang-terangan ditulis jawabannya itu sama persis dengan bacaan. Pasti akan sinonim-sinonimnya seperti yang kita lihat sekarang itu. Jadi tadi regularly arranged streets, padahal tulisannya tuh nggak ada regularly arranged di dalam paragrafnya. Tulisannya adalah regular grid pattern of streets and building. Beda kan, tapi sebenarnya artinya sama. Nah, hal-hal kayak gitu juga yang teman-teman harus pastiin untuk belajar lebih lanjut dan juga baca-baca lebih banyak supaya tahu sinonim-sinonim dari kata-kata kalimat-kalimat bahasa Inggris. Oke, we can continue to the next type of question. Kalau teman-teman ada pertanyaan, bisa langsung ketik di chat box aja. Jangan lupa stay sampai akhir acara karena nanti akan ada e-certificate dan juga website untuk teman-teman belajar reading section.
I have one practice one for you here.
Oke, ayo coba kita weekend practice ya.
Let's quickly have a look. Again, please notice the way they make these questions. You know, it should stand out because they have this capital not or capital except. So that's when you know you're looking for the wrong answer. If you look at the answers, it's composed of an organic material. It's basically the same as it was millions of years ago. It may contain the remains of tiny animals. It's made by a process of mineral replacement. Now you're probably looking in the first paragraph. What is amber? Okay, so let's take a look. Again, I'll give you, I don't know, 30 seconds.
Coba teman-teman dijawab dong. Ini bisa ketik di kolom chat box. Kira-kira apa ya jawabannya? Coba aja dulu. Ini adalah salah satu bentuk soal yang negative factual details. Jadi mencari mana yang bukan, yang tidak benar dari bacaan itu.
I'll give you
Kira-kira
10 more
A, B,
seconds.
C, atau D?
Oh, they're all coming in now.
Oh, nice.
I was keeping count and now they're going too fast. Most of you, oh, C's coming up now. Most of you were going with D. I think we've got mostly D's and quite a few C's as well. All right, let's take a look. Remember, we're looking for the one which is not true. If we look here, unlike these kinds of fossils, which are usually mineral replacements of the original structure, so that's the purple one, right? That's D. Amber is entirely organic. Okay, well, A is there. We can see A. If it's composed of an organic material, it's entirely organic. Its composition from the original tree resin has changed little over millions of years. So it is basically the same as it was millions of years ago. So A and B are true. Even the inclusions of tiny organisms in amber are strikingly intact. It may contain the remains of tiny animals. Yep, that one's there as well. So A, B, and C are there. D is how can I put this? If you said D, you're correct because it's the wrong answer. It's not true. Where it mentions these, it's talking about these dinosaur bones, these other fossils. And you know that because it says, unlike these kinds of fossils, blah, 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 blah. Amber is different. Okay, so well done. If you said D, you're absolutely right.
Yeay, jawabannya ternyata D, teman-teman. Karena yang D, yang warna ungu di bacaannya itu bukan ngomongin tentang amber, tapi ngomongin tentang dinosaurs bones. Nah, berarti itu adalah jawaban yang benar dari soal which of the following is not true about amber. Mana sih yang salah tentang amber? Kayak gitu cara jawabnya. Nah, untuk teman-teman yang masih bingung nih, kok kayaknya aku masih nggak paham ya, Miss. It's okay, nggak usah diburu-buru. Reading section emang butuh banyak latihan, butuh banyak bacaan. Jadi teman-teman nikmatin aja sekarang. Kalau seandainya ada yang bingung dikit-dikit, ya udah, nggak apa-apa. Nanti bisa diulang lagi nih di EF Talk, di YouTube. Jadi cuman kayak berusaha memahami aja. Terus habis itu kalau seandainya ada soal-soal bisa dicoba jawab. Kalau seandainya masih salah, biasanya nanti akan paham, oh ternyata salah aku di situ. Kayak gitu ya teman-teman, it's okay, pelan-pelan aja. Nanti kalau seandainya ada seminar lagi yang tentang reading, kita juga akan tetap build up kemampuannya. Memang harus praktis. Dan sekarang ayo kita coba lanjut ke pertanyaan-pertanyaan selanjutnya dari Mr. Darren.
Okay, let's go on to the next type of question, which is vocabulary questions.
Okay.
You can recognize these because they will say, the question will be, the word blah, blah, blah is closest in meaning to, and give you 4 words. They're very short looking questions on the question paper. And there are different types of vocabulary questions. Some of them expect you to know the word. Okay, and if you don't know the word, you're probably not going to get the right answer. Other ones don't expect you to know the word. They expect you to be able to work out the meaning of the word using the text. Okay, and I'm going to try and look at both of those today. If you look at this Teotihuacan, I wonder how you do say that, Teotihuacan question. Here it is. The word ingenuity in paragraph 2 is closest in meaning to what? Now, if you know the meaning of this word, it's easy. If you don't know the meaning, this one's really tough because that's what they're testing here. Now, if you don't know the meaning, the first thing to do is try putting each of these possible answers into the sentence and seeing which one makes the most sense. Okay. Now, remember, we're looking here at things that made this city grow quickly. All right. And they talk about different factors first. Other factors which helped it to grow, for instance, Teotihuacan's religious significance as a shrine, the historical situation in and around the Valley of Mexico toward the end of the first millennium, the ingenuity and foresightedness of Teotihuacan's elite. Okay, well, let's try ambition. The ambition and foresightedness, that sounds okay. Sincerity and foresightedness. Yeah, why not? The faith and foresightedness of Teotihuacan. Yeah, that works. The cleverness and foresightedness of Teotihuacan. Well, they all kind of work. Okay, so here, this is one where you kind of need to know the word. Now, if you don't know the word, you can look at the word itself and think if you know any words which are similar. You might, for example, know the word ingenious. And if you know the word ingenious, well, that sounds very similar to it. And ingenious means clever, inspired. And indeed, the correct answer is D, cleverness. So well done. I saw a lot of you putting D in the chat box. Well done. Okay. But really, if you don't know the word and you don't know the word ingenious, you're just guessing. However, remember, it's always important to guess. Do not leave the answer blank. If you don't know, just guess one, A, B, C, or D. All right.
Okay, can I try to explain?
Yes, you can. Yes, you
can. Oke, teman-teman. Kita sampai di section di mana kita harus mencari sinonim dari salah satu kalimat yang ada di soal. Kalau kasusnya ini, kita disuruh cari kalimat ingenuity di paragraf 2. Itu artinya apa sih? Nah, kita udah nemu nih tulisan ingenuity di paragraf 2. Ternyata ada udah dimerah-merahin nih sama Mr. Darren. Oke, kita udah ketemu kan ingenuity di situ. Tapi kita nggak begitu yakin apa ya artinya ingenuity, dan kita nggak tahu sinonimnya dia apa, artinya juga nggak ngerti. Yang pertama bisa kita lakuin adalah coba dimasukin satu-satu jawaban-jawaban yang ada itu ke dalam kalimatnya. Jadi contoh diganti nih, bla 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 bla, the ambition and foresightedness of Teotihuacan's elite. Ternyata cocok aja. Kemudian yang kedua, sincerity dimasukin. Kalian coba lagi, cocok nggak? Ternyata kalau di sini kasusnya cocok, tapi bisa jadi nanti di soal-soal yang teman-teman temuin nggak cocok. Nah bagus tuh kalau nggak cocok bisa langsung dihapus dari pilihan jawaban kalian. Kalau di sini faith kita masukin ternyata cocok juga. Cleverness kita masukin ternyata kok masih cocok juga. Berarti lanjut ke steps yang kedua. Steps yang kedua adalah teman-teman coba breakdown tulisan ingenuity. Itu kira-kira deket sama kalimat atau kata bahasa Inggris lainnya apa ya? Tadi Mr. Darren bilang bahwa mungkin teman-teman ada yang tahu artinya ingenious atau genius kali ya. Genius kan artinya pintar tuh. Nah, apakah mungkin jawabannya adalah yang paling dekat sama genius? Antara ambition, sincerity, faith, sama cleverness. Yang paling dekat sama genius ternyata kayaknya cleverness sih. Nah, karena kalian juga udah di momen nebak-nebak juga nih, mungkin bisa coba yakin aja nih sama jawaban yang D, yaitu cleverness. Siapa tahu bener, siapa tahu enggak. Tapi ya udah, hope for it. Nah, kalau seandainya teman-teman juga masih nggak ngerti lagi, even kalian nggak tahu ada kalimat seperti ingenious atau genius, berarti jawaban ketiga adalah dijawab berdasarkan tebak-tebakan aja. Karena jangan sampai kalian mengosongi jawaban yang ada di tes TOEFL, karena rugi dong, udah nggak minus, tapi kalian juga hanya mendapatkan 0 kalau seandainya itu salah maupun dikosongin. Lebih baik kalian dia salah satu aja, siapa tahu betul. Kayak gitu ya tips dari Mr. Darren. Jadi jangan lupa step-stepsnya tadi jika kalian menemukan soal-soal untuk pertanyaan-pertanyaan sinonim seperti ini. Dan bener, jawabannya adalah D, cleverness. Oke, Mr. Darren, we can try. Mungkin habis ini teman-teman bisa nyoba ya di salah satu soal selanjutnya. Kita akan bahas tentang the Amber One.
Now, this is the question that you've got, okay? The word intact in line 8 is closest in meaning to blah, blah, blah. There's one important thing I want to say here. Sometimes you might see a word which is really simple, and you think, wow, I know that word, okay? I mean, more simple than intact. I mean, like row or something like that. And you think, I know what this word means. If you see a word which looks really, really simple, then it's really important to put the different examples into the text and check, okay? Because a lot of words have more than one meaning, and they do sometimes try to trick you. However, this one's not trying to trick you. If you know the word intact, you should be fine. If you don't know it, find it in the text, and then do what we mentioned before. Put the different words in and see which ones work. Now let's just look at the one sentence. Even the inclusions of tiny organisms in amber are strikingly intact. Can we use all these words? They are strikingly beautiful. Okay. They're strikingly unusual. Yeah, all right. They're strikingly obvious. Makes sense. They're strikingly unchanged. Okay. Oh no, they all work. So what you have to do now is read the sentence before and read the sentence after. Read those and then decide which of these words makes the most sense.
Oke. Teman-teman, ini ada case juga ya. Kalau seandainya nanti ketemu pertanyaan sinonim seperti ini dan kalian ngerasa, aku tahu nih jawabannya karena ternyata kalimatnya gampang gitu. Nah, itu bisa dipastikan dulu dengan memasukkan jawaban-jawaban ini ke dalam bacaannya, karena bisa jadi satu kata dalam bahasa Inggris itu punya berbagai macam arti atau makna yang tergantung dari konteksnya. Jadi bisa jadi yang teman-teman tadi udah paham maksudnya, ternyata itu yang emang tujuannya untuk menjebak. Nah, makanya dicoba masukkan dulu dan cari mana yang kira-kira cocok. Dan kalau seandainya ada lebih dari satu yang cocok, seperti yang Mr. Darren barusan sampaikan, kalian bisa baca satu kalimat sebelumnya dan satu kalimat sesudahnya untuk mendapatkan konteks secara general bacaan ini itu maksudnya apa dan kalimat yang kalian pilih itu dipastikan lebih tepat. Nah, contohnya ini gimana? What is the answer for this intake?
Let's have a look. If we look around it, the sentence before says, its composition has changed little. And then the sentence afterwards starts with exquisite preservation. Preservation means not changing. And that tells you the answer. You've got a clue at the beginning and a clue after it. Unchanged is the correct answer. Well done, most of you. I saw lots of...
Well done.
Okay.
Very good.
Now, I'm going to go on and I'm going to go quite quick. Yes. I want to try and get through all of these different question types. The next one I want to do is reference. Reference questions look like vocabulary questions. When you see them on the paper, they look the same. But they're choosing a specific type of word. It's not a word like intact or exquisite or anything like that. It will be a pronoun. What I mean by pronoun is he, him, them, it. Okay? And a pronoun always refers to a noun that has been mentioned before. Okay? So your answers will all be things that are mentioned in the text. Let me show you one. Okay. Now, this one, again, looks like one of those vocabulary questions. The word it in this paragraph refers to, and you'll notice I haven't put the answers here, because I think the best way to do these questions is to try and answer them before you look at the answers. As soon as you see this pronoun it or them or they, and the word refers to blah, 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 don't look at the answers, because that can put something in your mind that you don't want. You just want to read through it and decide for yourself what the word means. So have a look here. I've highlighted the word it. Now remember, these pronouns will be referring to a noun that they have mentioned before. So let's go to the beginning of this sentence and see if we can find it. The hard volcanic stone was a resource that had been in great demand for many years, at least since the rise of the Olmecs, a people who flourished between 1200 and 400 BC, and it apparently had a secure market. Now, an important thing that can help you with the structure and the reading is learning which bits of the sentence you need to look at and which bits you can kind of ignore. All right. All of this between at least since the rise of the Olmecs and 1200 and 400 BC is set off by commas, and that's just extra information about what we're talking about. Okay, so you can kind of ignore that, and it leaves you with this: the hard volcanic stone was a resource that had been in great demand for many years, and it apparently had a secure market. Now, what is it? Good. I got two perfect answers: volcanic stone. Okay, and the hard volcanic stone here is what it is talking about. So now you look at the answers. Oh my goodness, you look at the answers and there is no volcanic stone. However, only one of your answers is a volcanic stone, and that's obsidian. Okay, well done, someone. I saw your answer, obsidian, as well. And that's it. Now, if you've looked at the answers first, it's easy to get confused because you've got great demand and you see great demand, and part of your brain is going, oh, maybe it's this, maybe it's this. So it's best to look at the question and then read through and get your own answer before you look at the answers. All right. You want to translate that, Vicky?
Yes, nah teman-teman, ini ada salah satu jenis soal juga yang namanya adalah reference. Biasanya kalian disuruh mencari kalimat untuk kata pengganti it, she, he, they, hal-hal yang kayak gitu nih. Nah, untuk soal di sini contohnya adalah the word it in this paragraph refer to yang mana. Udah ketemu kan it-nya? Oh, ternyata itu yang dimaksud it-nya. It apparently had a secure market. Nah, saran dari Mr. Darren yang pertama, ketika kalian menemukan soal seperti ini adalah jangan membuat jawabannya menjadi bias nih buat kalian. Jadi kalian nggak perlu lihat jawabannya dulu, nggak perlu lihat pilihan A, B, C, atau D-nya, tapi cari dulu di bacaan itu kira-kira yang dimaksud dari itu apa. Dan setelah kalian udah baca, biasanya akan ada di kalimat sebelumnya, pasti dong, karena itu akan refer to kalimat sebelumnya. Kemudian kalian nemuin nih, oh ternyata yang dimaksud adalah the hard volcanic stone. Kalian udah dapat jawabannya, baru setelah itu kalian melihat si pilihan jawaban ini, A, B, atau C, atau D, ada nggak yang kalian pilih, yaitu a hard volcanic stone? Ternyata nggak ada. Di sini adanya secure market, people, obsidian, and great demand. Tapi a hard volcanic stone yang dimaksud juga sinonimnya, atau dari kalimat-kalimat sebelumnya, bisa dipahami dengan mudah bahwa itu adalah obsidian. Jadi, cara pola berpikirnya seperti itu jika kalian, teman-teman, mau cepat untuk mengerjakan jenis soal yang seperti ini. Kayak gitu ya. Oke, habis ini kita akan coba satu lagi. Coba dijawab.
Okay, yeah. Here's one for you guys.
Okay.
Oh, excuse me, my checkbook's getting in the way. There we are. This is from the Amber one, and it tells you, whenever you have a reference question, it tells you exactly where to find it. So you don't need to scan or anything, it'll just be there, okay? So here we want to know what the word them is referring to. I'm not showing you the answers because you shouldn't be looking at them. All right, here's them. Read the sentence from it and decide what them is talking about.
Oke, teman-teman, kira-kira tahu nggak them ini yang dimaksud apa? Coba diketik di chat box, lalu nanti baru kita lihat pilihan jawabannya A, B, C, atau D. Ada nggak nih jawaban kalian? Terus tadi ada yang tanya, yang tadi ternyata jawabannya apa? Soal sebelumnya tadi jawabannya obsidian ya. Soalnya a hard volcanic stone itu sama dengan obsidian.
And I'm going to show you the answers right now because at the moment we've got conifer trees, various conifer trees. So let's see what the answers are. Now you look down at the answers and you see these: deposits, pine trees, conifer trees, broadleaf trees. Perfect.
Yay.
You thought it was the trees, it's an answer there, and it's the correct answer. Well done.
Well done, okay. Everyone.
So you'll see how it helps not confusing yourself by looking at the answers first. Read through it, get your own answer, and then see which answer fits best. Okay. All right, I'm going to go really quick because we're kind of supposed to finish soon. Hold on. Hopefully we'll have time. We've got 2 left to do. Okay, so the next one is purpose. Purpose questions ask you why the writer is doing something. Now, it might be very general. What is the writer trying to do with this whole piece? Or it might be more specific. It might say, why has the writer mentioned this? Or why does the writer say this? Okay. Now, with your purpose questions, all of your answers will use what we call a reporting verb. The writer is mentioning this to illustrate something, to emphasize something, to explain something. And you need to understand what all these reporting verbs mean. There are more than this, by the way. This is just the ones that I could fit on my slide easily. So illustrate means to show something. Emphasize means to give more emphasis, to give more stress to something, to strengthen it. To explain, I hope everyone understands. To give an example, again, quite clear. Support means that the writer will have given an argument and then is giving extra evidence to support it. To refute means to argue against something. Okay, so the writer might say something like, many people say that blah, 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 blah. However, blah, 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 blah. And contrasting and comparing are both very similar. You're looking at two things and seeing how similar they are or seeing how different they are. All right. And you can kind of use them interchangeably. Technically, contrasting is looking for the differences and comparing is looking for similarities. Okay.
Okay,
I'm not going to do you want to translate that?
Just a little bit.
Okay, go for it.
Oke, ini adalah bentuk soal selanjutnya, yaitu adalah mencari tujuan penulis membuat bacaan itu. Jadi biasanya jawaban-jawabannya itu akan mengandung kata-kata yang Mr. Darren sampaikan di slide nih, seperti apa ya, contoh soalnya seperti kayak gini. Apa tujuan penulis membuat paragraf di atas? Jadi bisa jadi untuk mengilustrasikan bahwa atau untuk menjelaskan bahwa hal-hal yang kayak gitu nih. Nah, ini salah beberapa kalimat-kalimat yang menjadi reporting verbs-nya. Atau untuk memberikan kontras atau membandingkan atau melawan argumen hal-hal yang kayak gitu nih teman-teman. Nah, cara mengerjakan soalnya kayak apa atau contoh soalnya kayak apa, kita akan bahas setelah ini sama Mr. Darren. Let's go to the example.
Okay, just before I do, so it's important to understand these, but this is where those signposts we mentioned earlier can be really useful, like however, on the other hand, that sort of thing. If you see something like however, you know the writer is either arguing against or he's contrasting, because however shows a contrast. Okay, so these types of questions are where it's really useful to understand and recognize those discourse markers. Okay. Here's an example. This is just straight from the Amber, okay? Why does the author mention dinosaur bones in the first paragraph? Emphasize, explain, compare, and give an example. We've looked at all of those. So now let's look at the text and see which one makes sense.
Okay, can they try to answer?
Yeah, I will say nothing. There's the dinosaur bones. Have a read here, starting from we, and keep reading until you think you know what the writer is trying to do.
Oke, coba teman-teman dijawab di chat box, kira-kira jawabannya A, B, C, atau D? Okay, a lot of people answer A and also B and C or D.
It's great, this one. It's an absolute bunch of different ones, isn't it? I'm sorry, I didn't give you an example first, did I? Let's have a look. If we read through this, we often think of fossils as the remains of extinct organisms, like dinosaur bones, and impressions of ferns, leaves, and insect wings in rocks. Unlike these kinds of fossils, which are usually mineral replacements of the original structure, amber is entirely organic. So we've got dinosaur bones and we've got amber. And we're looking at both of them and seeing how similar or how different they are. This is comparing, okay? The word unlike is another of these signposts. It's one that we come across a lot. And it's showing you that he's looking at how these things are different. So, excuse me while I move this window. He's comparing dinosaur fossils with amber and showing that they're different. Okay. Don't worry if you got that one wrong. It's just my fault for not giving you an example because we didn't have much time. Okay. Can we move on to the next one very quickly?
Okay.
I want to go to the next one because it's the most important. Well, I think it's the most important. And that's main idea questions. I say it's the most important because for most of my students, it's the type of question they find the most difficult. All right. And it's difficult for a simple reason. Quite often, it looks as though all of the answers are correct. Now, if we think about this amber passage, if we look at these answers, the passage mainly discusses the difference between amber and mineral fossils. We just looked at that. So that's definitely in there. Places where amber can be found. Yep, second, maybe third paragraph, that's in there. Various characteristics of amber. Well, yeah, that's what it's talking about, yeah? And types of trees that produced amber. Yes, all of these are mentioned in the text, all of them. And main idea questions are where that skimming and nutshelling becomes quite important, okay? If we go back to those little summaries of each paragraph that we had, the first paragraph was about what is amber. The next one is about where amber is found. And the next paragraph is about how amber is formed. Okay, now don't be scared. I'm going to show you the whole thing in a minute. And I'm going to show you where they talk about each thing. The difference between amber and fossils is there. This is it. We often think of blah, blah, blah. Unlike these, it's amber. These are different. That's it. That's the only place they talk about the difference. Where you can find amber, well, it's a bit more here. The second paragraph, yes, where you would find it in the world. And then it is more about how amber's made, but you could argue that the beginning of the third paragraph is also about where it is. The fourth one, types of trees which make amber, is only briefly mentioned here. Okay, it's not just pine trees, it's lots of different trees. It's only really one sentence. Characteristics of amber is all of it. Absolutely all of it. A characteristic of amber is just anything which describes amber, anything which is typical of amber. And because all of this is about amber, that's your correct answer. And the important thing for these types of questions is that the answer is usually something very general. It's much less specific than the wrong answers. You'll have 3 specific answers which will be found somewhere in the text. And then you'll have this really general description, which is your correct answer. Okay?
Okay, can I explain?
Absolutely.
Oke, teman-teman, kita sampai di jenis soal terakhir, yaitu main idea dari seluruh bacaan yang ada. Jadi soalnya kurang lebih akan passage mainly discussed about something like that. Jadi semua yang kayak kira-kira ide pokoknya dari bacaan ini apa ya? Nah, itu cara menjawabnya adalah seperti tadi Mr. Darren udah sampaikan. Kita bisa cari satu yang biasanya jawabannya akan selalu yang paling general. Jadi contohnya yang A, difference, perbedaan, kemudian yang B, places, tempat-tempat di mana ditemukan, itu kayak very specific. Apalagi ketika tadi di awal teman-teman udah melakukan skimming nih sama passage yang ada. Dan kalian udah tahu kalau yang pertama itu amber itu apa, kemudian dia lokasinya di mana dan bagaimana terbentuknya. Jadi kayaknya kok yang A itu udah di cover sama paragraf 1 ya. Dan kemudian yang B itu di cover sama paragraf 2. Dan yang D itu kayaknya di cover sama paragraf 3. Jadi pasti mereka A, B, dan D itu bukan kalimat pokok dari seluruh bacaan. Jadi yang kalimat pokok dari seluruh bacaan umumnya adalah yang paling umum, yaitu various characteristic of amber. Jadi amber itu tentang apa aja, karakteristiknya gimana, atau amber itu seperti apa sih, dan itu dijelaskan seluruhnya di dalam bacaan tersebut, yang mana membuat jawaban C adalah jawaban yang paling benar. Kayak gitu ya caranya untuk menjawab main idea. Kemudian teman-teman juga, karena kita udah mau sampai di penghujung acara, Vicky mau ngingetin sedikit soal tadi yang belum sempat untuk WA ke IF. Bisa langsung sekarang coba untuk tes kemampuan bahasa Inggris kalian, gratis untuk peserta yang hadir di sini aja, dengan WA ke 0822 2000 itu untuk coba tes kemampuan bahasa Inggris kalian ya. Jadi bisa dilihat di layar, ada di 0822 2000, dapatkan konsultasi gratis. Jadi teman-teman bisa cari nih, bisa cari tahu kira-kira tes TOEFL kalian nantinya udah cukup belum ya untuk mendapatkan skor yang kalian inginkan. Yaitu dengan konsultasi sama teacher-teacher yang ada di IF. Seperti Mr. Darren contohnya, kalau kalian mau konsultasi langsung untuk tahu kemampuan bahasa Inggris kalian, silakan WA dengan format nama spasi usia ke 0822 2000 1000. Di save nomornya sekarang aja ya. Dan Vicky juga ingetin untuk tetap stay habis ini karena kita akan ada sertifikat untuk teman-teman yang stay sampai akhir. Dan Vicky juga mau ngingetin minggu depan kita akan ada next seminar, yaitu Let's Fix Our Grammar Beginner Edition. Kalau teman-teman ngerasa di sini masih pengen mencoba untuk meningkatkan kemampuan grammarnya, itu bisa langsung aja daftar. Akan dibantu kirimkan link pendaftaran IF Talk selanjutnya, ada di chat box. Bisa di screenshot atau di save sekarang untuk nanti bisa teman-teman daftar, supaya bisa langsung join di sesi selanjutnya di tanggal 2 Juli jam 10 pagi lagi seperti hari ini. Kayak gitu teman-teman. Untuk seminarnya pada pagi hari ini, kita udah sampai di penghujung acara, dan juga nanti teman-teman kalau yang ada pertanyaan akan kita bahas lebih lanjut. Dan untuk yang teman-teman masih ngerasa belum begitu paham sama seminar hari ini atau butuh recap lagi nih, langsung aja datang ke YouTube-nya IF di @IF_Surabaya, atau sambil scrolling-scrolling belajar bahasa Inggris, kalian bisa follow TikTok IF di @IF_Surabaya juga. Nanti akan dibantu sama rekan saya di kolom chat box untuk ngasih linknya. Jadi teman-teman bisa follow TikToknya IF, follow Instagramnya IF, dan juga follow atau subscribe di YouTube-nya IF untuk belajar bahasa Inggris lebih lanjut sambil rebahan di rumah aja. Seru banget kan? Jangan lupa daftar untuk yang selanjutnya. Dan setelah ini kita akan kasih link survei untuk teman-teman semuanya. Nanti setelah surveinya diisi, karena Vicky dan Mr. Darren pengen banget tahu input dari teman-teman yang ada di sini. Please kasih input kita kalau seandainya ada kurang sesuatu dari seminar kita pada pagi hari ini, dan juga materi-materi apa sih yang kira-kira teman-teman pengen nih untuk dibahas lebih lanjut, atau yang teman-teman masih bingung dan pengen banget dibahas juga sama Mr. Darren dan teacher-teacher IF lainnya. Bisa banget langsung isi di survei ya. Linknya ada di dalam kolom chat box dan juga nanti akan ditampilkan di layar. Oke teman-teman, nanti e-sertifikatnya juga akan dikirim langsung ke emailnya semuanya begitu kalian udah selesai mengisi survei. Oke, Mr. Darren, I think we are ready to finish the seminar.
All right, well, thank you everybody for listening. I hope it was useful.
Yeah, we hope it was useful. Oke teman-teman,
thank you everyone, have a great weekend.
Soal jawaban-jawabannya. Thank you so much everyone for coming today. We were really glad to see you. Senang banget ketemu semuanya hari ini. Jangan lupa isi survei ya, karena nanti sertifikatnya akan ada langsung setelah kalian mengisi survei. Bisa langsung scan juga yang ada di layar. Scan di sini untuk klaim sertifikatmu. Jangan lupa kasih input. Jangan lupa untuk kasih suggestion seminar-seminar selanjutnya kalian pengen tentang materi apa. See you everyone.
Bye guys. Hold on.